Welcome to this workshop. Hello, good morning. Good morning to people that are connected online, wherever you are. So, my name is Asuncion Menargues. I am from the University of Alicante, and I work at the Faculty of Education of that university, and I teach science education. So I want to deliver. Come on, and good morning. So I'm going to share with you a kind of methodology that I'm using for 5 years in a subject of the future teachers at the University of Alicante, and the workshop is called Teaching for Action, changing attitudes to promote sustainable development goals through challenge-based teaching. So this is a workshop, as the title says, with action. So I encourage you to interact with your classmates in this case, okay? But before beginning, I'm going to prove some ideas that you are going to reflect before starting the workshop. So I don't know if you know this platform, it's Mentimeter. So you have to write menti.com and give me a couple of seconds, because I will share with you a code that you have to use to answer several questions with the goal of reflect, and you can type those numbers to enter to this slide, and you can answer using your mobile phone or your laptops or your tablets if you want. Also for people that are connected online. So I'm going to show you the answers of the first question. Okay. The first question was, what do you think that must be considered when you are going to buy a new smartphone? And we have here size of storage, GPU and RAM and durability for the smartphone, memory and speed, that the line no longer works, size, both memory size, battery life, price, camera, quality of the lenses, number of cameras, duration of battery, weight, and condition for users, and size and hard drive, speed of the processor, size, brand, weight, price. All the issues that we have here are related to the technological conditions and how good is the camera, or how many bytes can storage the memory of the phone, or the long life of the battery. So that are your reflections of this question. And second one, advices to your friend, depends on the friend. Depends on the friend and his or her priorities. I recommend Samsung phones. Maybe probably one of you is working in that enterprise, I don't know. And choose the model according to your needs, size, price, size of the hard drive, and so on. Look up smartphone parameters on this. I don't know what is that.
GSM Arena.
I don't know what is that.
It's a website. You can compare all the smartphones, and it tells you all the differences, whether how much RAM, what they're made of, and stuff like that.
Okay, it's interesting.
And I think it has one for each language. One for English, one for Polish.
It's very useful.
Yeah.
Okay. Ask which type of software they like, describe which runs live. Do you really have to change it? So interesting. Do you really need one, a new one? once I know what they want to use it for, I would just, I would suggest the brands like to consider if the new smartphone meets its needs by the one with the best camera with you want for SSNN, and make sure you choose a mobile phone that matches your needs. Are you using many applications? Do you need a good camera? Do you need just the basic functions? Then buy the best value for money and a phone case to protect it. It's very important for the durability of the phone. Okay. So, what do you think about it? You can summarize those advices are related to what? The needs, the quality, the product itself. Product itself. Yes. Okay.
And your answers to the second slides.
No, this is not a correct answer. Because at the end of the workshop, I will show you again your answers. And you have to reflect if you agree or not with the answer that you gave at the beginning. Okay? There is not a correct answer. It's just a reflection.
So don't be afraid.
Okay, materials that we need to manufacture in smartphones. Chemicals for the battery, platinum, oil, gold, silica, carbon, lithium, metallic components, silver, plastic cover and keys, processor chip, iron, memory chips, plastic, silicon, silica, and crystal and plastic. Okay.
And the another one.
Products related to the extraction of those materials. Sorry?
So all the answers, but all.
Yes, very different. Because if you repeat the same word, the word is coming bigger. Yeah. Yeah. So the problems related to the extraction of those materials are, for example, extraction of the natural areas, generation and waste from recycling processes, waste disposal issues, generation of waste from mining, ecology, environmental situations, health and safety of workers, biodiversity loss, problems with resources, exploitation of indigenous people for mining, pollution of water and soils,
Underpaid labor
force, management of the plastics and chemical waste generated during manufacturing, high carbon footprint from transporting those materials into factories and then to selling points all over the world, and climate warming, exhaustion of natural resources, accumulation of waste, pollution, increasing energy consumption, which will further cause all the previously mentioned problems. So, what do you think about your answers?
Other people were more elaborate, mine are quite short.
Yes. Yes.
Reflects my background, on environmental science.
Yes. 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 And someone will name social programs also related to the workers. Yeah, do you know something about the programs of the workers to extract those materials?
Not the specific case, but some of the materials are extracted from these mining sites in countries where it is known that in some cases the labor force is underage, underpaid, and no protection to these workers whatsoever, zero health and safety care for them, etc., etc.
Okay,
Not that I know details, but like kind of common knowledge.
okay,
Children.
children involved in labor, I don't know, what do you see?
But I think, not specific to this job. Overall, problem.
Yes, it's not only for smartphones.
Yes.
Yes, but I choose this device because we now this device is key for us because we think about if we leave home and we forget our smartphone in home, we can come back to take it because we can live without it during all day. So it's a very important device for us in our everyday life. So I choose those examples from that.
Other than that document where, yeah, colors. Exactly, the balls, that bottom.
Yes, exactly, and it changes the way to of our relation with others also. So currently it's an important device for us. So I choose that example for many reasons. Many reasons.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. And we are going to move on in the presentation. Okay, so
What do you think about your habits of consumption? Do you think that are sustainable? When you are going to buy something, do you need that? Do you think that what you are going to buy is key for your life? Because if you don't buy that product, you can't live, or you buy because you want it, or because there is another one, a new one that you want to have. What do you think about that?
It's not about that much out of it, other than, groceries and things like that. In some cases, we just replace things because we find something that is nicer or with a new functionality that we think is convenient, even if what we have would be, would have a much more extended life. But I think we have entered this consumption mode that I don't know, it's like I don't want to demonize anything, but for instance, I don't like Apple products, right? I have used it in the past and they're super nice, super fancy and super good and cool and all. But just this idea of what I see in some of my friends who constantly need to change, not because their, Apple phone doesn't work, because it would work perfectly for years probably, but they enter into this consumption mode that, oh, there's a new model and this one does this, and then I replace it. It also works for people, buying Samsung or whatever other thing. We enter in this mode that, there's something new, fancy, and right. If it's devices and things like that, or I don't know, clothes or whatever that we're talking about. Regarding the groceries, I want to be that I'm kind of more or less aware consumer. But again, it's due to my background. And I know there is a long way to walk through, right? Try to buy things that are not so much wrapped in plastic. Always use my bags out of cloth or whatever. So I need to ask for bags, or if I don't have any, then ask for a paper bag. Obviously, it's tricky sometimes. Yeah. I try my best, but there is a long way to go. For instance, traveling, I travel for work and for leisure. I take the plane. I don't take, 3 days for going by train, even if it's feasible, because I don't want to lose the 3 days, even if, carbon footprint would be much lower. When the life goes fast, and so, or at least. What do you think?
Answer your question about I need knowledge and very knowledgeable. And the second so we experience taste of food, and there's waste of food, there's waste of money. That's the way how it works now. And it means that they are just
Okay, so we, and maybe because of the picture you are talking about groceries, but you can think about any product. So, yes,
Actually, it's not only the consumer's problem. Actually, it's the producer's problem, because phones are definitely produced so that you should change that phone in a year or two. And not only Apple, actually, all producers do this way. Remembering the first phones that were produced by Nokia and Motorola, they were all lasting actually. That came the solar. And they started making them in such a way that it should be forced.
absolutely. And don't you think that we buy much more than we need?
Latest capitalist issues, do all this thing. We all capitalists, so that you shape everyone with salary. How do you pay your salary so more by more circle and we all in. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we don't need to go to the shopping center because from our smartphones we can buy everything. Click on the web page that offers all the products. So probably you can find the product that you want to buy in a shopping center, but if you go to several websites, you will find the product that you are looking for. So from your living room, you can buy anything. So it's crazy. It's crazy. This is an unsustainable model of consumption.
And the money
Yes, you don't see the money, but it works.
I just want to add something.
Yes.
For the mention, convenience. Things that I tend to buy, or my methods when I'm buying, is all for convenience. Everything was mentioned is quite nice, but as soon as something becomes more inconvenient, you tend to avoid doing it. For example, I don't own a car, so I do all my grocery shopping online by orders. Fortunately, I miss out on some key deals and products in places like shopping centers, Auchan, Carrefour, where things will be much cheaper. You can buy food on this one, this is going to be thrown out. But unfortunately, it's an hour to walk there, an hour to walk back. So one thing that I think is unsustainable in the consumption model is the fact that we are looking more and more for convenience. And I think we now have to live in a world where inconvenience is probably, we have to realize that if we want to be more sustainable, we must be more inconvenient. Kind of like you said with the train. It's an inconvenience, but it's more sustainable. Until that sort of realization comes, it doesn't matter how much, as long as we have the money, as long as we have other things that we want to do. Are you going to give it up? No, you're going to pay the money to get it back. You're going to take the shortcut. No. Exactly, that's the thing.
So, okay, I'm gonna start with, the traveling is to have money at the moment, so I start with all the things I'm gonna do stuff. Something like that. So my car is not. And then, I have my own, thing, so I don't need to, I will feel as much as I can. So little by little, that it makes a difference, really, because the moment that you enter this mindset, you start being more conscious of your attention. Like, for instance, I've had, like, in the last 12 hours, conversations with 2 different people regarding how to, use resources better for, daily, basic daily stuff. Like, okay, so I do my own soap to wash my clothes, or I do this and I do that, and I no longer buy, a matter of, soap. I just use the bar, etc. And little things. It starts counting.
Yeah, so I won't disagree with that, but for other people, the convenience of saying, now just go buy it, it's easier. It's much more attractive than the inconvenience there.
No, definitely. But I can tell you that there is I started, kind of thinking about the environment when I did my degree many more years ago than I planned to admit. And barely nobody outside our faculties, people start studying that, was so aware or conscious about it. So there's been a long way. There are options now. You can buy them and you go back to the grocery store or to any of them, but now you can, in many cases, see, the footprint, or if it's being produced by fair trade, or if it's ecologic or organic or things that even the package. Get the package. Yes. Yes.
I think convenience is very important, but this goal became that themselves that very easy. So easy to actually spend thousands of people.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult that I thought is this company gets some money, access that they the whole system, everything money. This is the truth. That's like that.
Yes, but we are thinking in the short term because it works, because enterprises make a lot of money and they can pay salaries. But yes, but is it sustainable? That is the question. And what things are behind about the extraction of resources, not only environmental problems, but also social problems that we are going to address today here. So, for example, when we buy a product, even the package is, they need to manufacture the package, and where the materials come from. All of us know the answer, of course, but we have to reflect when we buy a product, even the package, it must be made with something that is extracted from the earth. So we can reflect of each of those questions. And what about the planetary boundaries? For example,
In 2018,
it was extracted from the air, the equivalent to 1.75 planets Earth. It means that the Earth has the capacity to regenerate. For example, every year, the Earth can regenerate itself. It will be the one unit, but if we are extracting more than one, it is not sustainable at all. So if you see that graph, in 1961, more or less, we reached the equilibrium point, the limit of the boundaries. And after the 70s, it grows up and it doesn't allow to replace the materials again on the planet. So we are extracting more materials than the planet is able to replace again another year. So it is not
sustainable at all.
so now we are living in a global emergency situation because of those massive exploitation of natural resources by biodiversity loss, as you answered before.
But not only for those reasons.
Because we are destroying the environment, okay? The environmental degradation.
This is a river in Bulgaria.
Where?
In Bulgaria.
Ah,
Yes. For example, you name the carbon footprint, so it produces global warming that we all know about that problem. Okay.
And it makes also social inequalities because not all the money is well distributed, as you know.
Not the money, but also the resources.
Those are people that are trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea to reach to Europe from the north part of Africa, because they are looking for a better life, because the conditions in some places of Africa are extremely hard, as we are going to address today.
The
deep sea is plenty of people that die trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea. In Spain, we know very well that problem. Every year arrives to Spain many people from the north of Africa and also inside. And as you know, everyone wants to control the resources, and the control of the resources can make that a war can start, as you know. So the control of resources is that
we can find international conflict for that control. So
we have a scenario quite difficult. So before continuing, we are going to reflect use my Kahoot. You know the Kahoot application. Okay, so we are going to check how much you know about natural resources and conflicts using the example of smartphone. You can type Kahoot and When the platform asks you for the PIN, you can type that PIN. The number is 3093258. What your smartphone has. True or false? Send an email is a sustainable way to communicate because it does not produce a carbon footprint. Send an email is sustainable because it does not produce a carbon footprint. It's false.
In Poland,
In Poland.
yeah, coal-fired power plants.
Sorry?
Coal-fire generates electricity.
Oh, but wait a minute.
Increase this,
The size,
I heard that no.
because actually we simply are trying to cover.
Oh, sorry, I'm afraid that I can't. But if you want, you can stand up. It's not a problem for me, and you can. Don't you see the question on your laptop?
We just, yeah, no.
Sorry.
On the Kahoot, you see true or false.
Okay, so sorry for that. The size of the. Or if you want, you can. Either. Sorry for that.
You only can get pregnant.
Okay, okay. Well, when we send an email, on the average, is distributed 4 grains of carbon CO2. Yes.
because
We need, for example, when not only to when we send an email, think about when we send a WhatsApp. The information that we send must be processed and stored in some place, and the storage of that information consumes more than the fact that you are sending something, because probably you are thinking about when you are sending an email for a WhatsApp, you are consuming power of your device. But it's not only the power of your device, it's also the place that your information needs to be processed and stored. So the more data you send, the more space or needs to be stored, and more carbon footprint will be produced. So when we send an image or a video or an audio, we are producing more carbon footprint than we just text something. So it is not only the fact to consume the power of our devices, but also the place, virtual place, where our data is stored. So it's not only the power.
second question.
This is a lot of fun, thank you.
Thank you. Ellen, you are on the top now, for now. Next question.
Do you know which percentage can be avoided if we extend the useful life of a mobile phone for 2 years? Oh, time is running, sorry. If, okay, don't.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Just click and you don't.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if I can move the screen or you can stand up to.
Actually, we can just join the Teams or the laptop.
do you know which percentage can be avoided if we extend the useful life of a mobile phone for 2 years? Imagine that you can extend the mobile phone life of your phone 2 years more. Do you think, or do you know the percentage that we can avoid to produce CO2? The correct answer is that we can avoid 43% of emissions. If we extend the life of our mobile phone for 2 years, we are avoiding a half, is very close to a half part of the emissions that will be produced in 2 more years. So this is related to the question that I made you at the beginning. What do you think that is important to consider when you are going to buy a new smartphone? Probably the first question is, do I need a new one? Because if I extend the life of my mobile phone, I will reduce the carbon footprint.
So this is interesting to consider, okay? Don't worry about the score, because we are going to address the questions in depth, okay?
Question number 3 is, do you know how many tons of CO2 could be not emitted if we reuse the old smartphones of Europe? Do you know how many tons of CO2 could be not emitted if we reuse the old smartphones of Europe? Tons of CO2. 21
the
million
time.
tons.
Oh.
21 million tons. Okay.
Times.
European people have an estimated 7 million of phones in their drawers. The reuse will avoid the emission of 21 million of tons of CO2. Wow.
Next one. True or false?
Coltan is very abundant on the earth.
What is coltan?
Good question. Coltan is a mineral that are needed to build, to produce all those kinds of devices. So coltan is a mineral that I'm going to do a spoiler, I think. I'm going to stop here, but it's an important mineral that is used to produce all those kind of devices. Okay?
Periodic table?
It's not, yes, but it's the 19 natural elements that make up everything. Okay? The periodic table, but distributed that because for sure you know when animal is threatened, you know that that animal can disappear, and there are animals in danger of extinction. No, you know that. So with elements, there is something similar, because some elements are we can find in a very small amount on the in the planet. For example, the greatest form that we can find here, the more abundant the element is on the Earth. So here you can see several pictures of small forms, and where you can find the small forms, all those elements are necessary to produce the mobile phones. But if you see the colors, there is a photo with the colors. The red one are, for example, serious threat in the next 100 years. The orange, rising threat from increasing use. Yellow, limited availability, future risk to supply. And in green, potentially supply. Okay? So, for example, coltan is a mixture, it's a mineral that is a mixture of niobium and tantalum. And if you see here, tantalum in gray comes from conflict minerals. So in gray, you can see that those elements are related to the conflict minerals. So those minerals came from places where there is a war to control those resources. Okay, so we can find the greatest reserves of coltan in
What's the yellow one?
Borneo, Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and China. Yes, Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Next one. How many people die in the coltan mines for each kilo of coltan extracted? Do you know that? 5, 1, nobody dies, or 2. Two. Okay, 2 people died for each kilo of coltan that is extracted from those mines in the east of Congo, the region of Kivu.
Is it just mining or is it also processing?
Mining, just mining. True or false? There is a relationship between the number of women raped in the Democratic Republic of Congo and our smartphones. True. Yes. Do you know the number of women that are raped each year in the Democratic Republic of the Congo? 100,000 women each year. 1,000. Okay, each year. So this is the reality that we can find behind our smartphones. A few people know things related to coltan, but it's a mineral that is quite good because it has some specific electric connections and it can store a lot of amount of data. So coltan is needed to produce devices more and more small because we are looking for the if we find a way to produce small pieces that can stretch a lot of amount of data, it is better for us because we can carry a small device that is very powerful. So for that reason, coltan is very useful to produce those type of devices. And the 80% of the coltan is in the Republic, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Is there, the 80% of the world. So
What is that?
So probably you remember, you are very young, but remember that in the 90s, a war started in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Burundi, Uganda, and Rwanda, because of the control of the exploitation of the mineral of coltan. And it was the war that produces the more largest number of victims after the Second War. 6 million people died in that war. And that war is still continuing because there are many refugees that want to escape from the tragedy that people live every day in the east part of the Congo. More than 15 million people are refugees in other places of Congo. And
If you are a woman,
it's the worst country in the world to live because militaries use the violations of women as a weapon, as a war weapon, as we know that it happens now in Ukraine to women. Okay, 100,000 women are raped each year in Congo, nowadays, currently. And they are raped with extremely brutality because militaries rape them using knives and guns, and they destroy women inside. There is a doctor called Dr. Denis Mukwege, and it was the Nobel Prize of Peace in 2018 because he devoted all his life to save lives of women that are victims of the sexual terrorism. Like that, he reconstructed the women inside, and he gave them an opportunity to develop or to have resources to continue their lives because they are refused for their communities because of the reason that they were raped. So they don't want women, raped women. So they have many difficulties to continue their lives. So that is a reason that Congo is the worst country to live if you are a woman. And all those facts because of the control of that resource, coltan. And for each kilo of coltan that are extracted from the mine, 2 people die in the mine because the mine are open mines and people that are working in the mine, most of them are children because they are small and they make tubes. The government dig on the floor using simple tools, and they dig, and when the tube is made on in the floor, children go enter in the tube to extract pieces of the rock, and after that they are looking for coltan inside the rock. So it is terrible, and workers don't know where those resources go after that. They don't know anything about that, and they don't know why are many people interested on their resources and the benefits of that resources don't come back again to the country or to that people. So it's crazy.
What's the price of the kilo of coltan?
Sorry,
What's the price?
I don't know. There are 2 types of mines in Congo. There are the red mines that are controlled by paramilitary people, and those kind of mines are very dangerous for the workers The coltan that is extracted from those kind of mines are cheaper than the coltan that is extracted from the green mines. But the green mines are not much more better. The green mines are controlled by the militaries of the government, but it is a country with many corruption. So it is very difficult to control the rights of the workers and so on. So the price of a kilo of cotton, I don't know the price, but I know that the price increases 200 times when the cotton is sold again to others. So there are many people interested in go to Congo to extract to buy cotton and rebuy again the cotton because they make a lot of money. But what about the tragedy that is behind that? So all these things, don't you think that all these things are an inexcusable starting point for education, for sustainable development? Don't you think so? We have many problems. We have a crisis on the planet related to the environment, social distribution of the benefits. There are many inequalities. So we need to address all those issues to promote the education for the sustainable development goals.
So this is a part of the introduction of this workshop. Sorry about the
Length of the introduction, but I think that it is very important to know the problem, to understand why we are going to do what we are going to do now.
Okay. So I teach a subject
In the Faculty of Education at the University of Alicante, that is called Education for Health, Responsible Consumption, and Care for the Environment. And my students will be teachers in the future at school. So
this subject has
3 parts or 3 blocks. The first one is education for responsible consumption.
the second part is environmental education, and the third part is health education. And we decided to study
The 2 first parts using a methodology that is a service learning project. Okay. So we use the mobile phone cycle to study those parts. The sustainable consumption and environmental education at the faculty. So this nice picture with this nice drawing was made by a student of mine that wrote a tale, and he made also the drawings with aquarellas. Watercolors? Yes, watercolors. Thank you.
So the goals of
This project, this service learning project, is to learn sustainable consumption and environmental education through using the life cycle of a mobile phone according to the sustainable development goals, but also change attitudes, not only to achieve the knowledge, because a service learning project needs to change attitudes for action. This is the first word that I told you at the beginning of this workshop, action. Because we need to address problems to solve those problems. The knowledge has to move attitudes, yes.
Service.
Service learning
is a kind of methodology that you learn knowledge, but after that, you decide to do something to for the society or the community to improve something. Okay, to improve something. So not only to know, but also to change things in our community or other communities. So this is the second step, to change. Is learning for action, to do things, to solve problems that we know to exist, because it's very important to know about the origin of the problems, to address the problem and to propose solutions to the problem. And the third part is the service. Is to decide which kind of service we want to do to change things and to improve the well-being of several communities or one community, or we will decide in the future in our program, because this kind of service is chosen by our students. So we have several stages in our service learning project, and the first stage is to be aware of the social and environmental problems related to the life form cycle. So this is the first step. The second one, we arise several questions to guide the research that our students need to do. Okay, and that question, those questions are: what is the life cycle of the mobile phone? And the second one is: what are the environmental and social implications of this cycle? The third stage is a stage where our students has to search information on the internet, or making several interviews to people who know things related to the mobile phones, or organization, enterprises. And after this stage, they have to communicate to others, to their classmates, information that they found. And the fifth stage is time to make proposals to improve the well-being of people. In this case, related to the extraction of culture. Of course, we need to tell others that we are working in a very important project, because we want to involve all the community at the university, so they have to publicize the work that they are doing. And the last step is the service to the community. So I'm going to present how we address all those steps in our classes. The first one is to be aware about the social and environmental problems. And you know now things about those problems, but our students don't know anything. They don't know anything about the culture, like anything of this workshop, or what hides our smartphone. They don't know anything. So we watch in our classes 2 documentaries. One, I strictly recommend you that documentary, and it's in English, is City of Joy. It's in Netflix. It's a documentary related to the work that is carrying out the Dr. Denis Mukwege in Congo. This is the Nobel Prize in 2018. It's quite interesting, and that documentary moves inside of you many things. And the second one is a documentary in Spanish, is El negocio del coltán, is the business of coltán. And this documentary is related to the work in the mine of mine workers, and in that documentary we know some things related to the price of 1 kilo of Congo and where the Congo goes after you extract them from the mine and so on. It's very, very interesting. So in this film, we can know many things related to the violence that women suffer in Congo, and in this one, it's related to how kind of work do the workers in the mine and where the coltan goes after that, and the people that are involved in the business of the coltan with enterprises. Yes.
So how do you use the videos? Do you watch the videos in class, or is it homework for the students? to talk
No,
about?
we watch the videos in class because it's very important, because those videos generate a debate in class. And I need to ensure that my students are looking or are watching the documentaries.
Mhm.
So if I tell them that they have to watch the documentary at home, some of them don't have Netflix platform, so they can see the documentary. And I share my Netflix in my class. I have a permission of Netflix because it's for teaching, for didactic proposal. So you can put a documentary in your class once per year, so only Netflix. But it's not for me because I see once per year. Okay. So I share my Netflix in classroom, and they see, they watch that documentary. And the another one is in Documania, it's a from Spain, and we can see the documentary there. But in class, because it's very important, the reactions, the debate that it generates. So it's very important. So after watching those documentaries, you can imagine now that people want to know more. They are very the word. Yes, concerned. Yes, they were in the class. So I asked them, do you prefer that I teach you how to know things related to sustainable consumption, care of the environment, or do you prefer to make something different and we can address those issues using the life cycle of a mobile phone to learn things related to that? What do you prefer? And they choose always the second option, private class. It's different. So after that, I asked 2 questions to my students. The first one is what is the life cycle of the mobile phone? And the second one is what are the environmental and social implications? And those 2 questions arises more questions. And the questions that come from the beginning questions are the questions that my students have to address in my class during more or less 12 hours of 12 hours are 6 classes, because each class is 2 hours, so more or less 6 classes. The questions that arises from the 2 principal questions are, for example, the first one is what materials do we need to manufacture mobile phones? This is the first question that I ask you. Do you know the materials that we need to produce mobile phones? So we divide the class in small groups, and each group will address each question in depth. So there is a group working in this question, and they have to search on the internet the materials that are needed to produce mobile phones, and where the elements or the materials are to be extracted, and if there is any environmental impact during the extraction. So this is a good question to start. There is one more. What are the social consequences of the extraction of those materials? They have to search more information to know if there is more social consequences related to the extraction of those materials. A third question is, what is the tour that follows those materials from the extraction to the factories and shops? What is the tour that those materials do? So they have to look for or search information about that. There is one more question related to the use of the phone, the responsible use of the phone. For example, why do we decide to buy a new mobile phone? That is the question we started at the beginning of the workshop. Okay, and when we buy the smartphone, do we use it with responsibility? This question is related to social networks, because you know that social networks are an amazing space that we can change information or feelings with others in the good way. But there is another way to use social networks. You know that about bullying or something like that. And it is very important because at school, probably they will have pupils that they will have his or her first smartphone in school. And it is very important to address the responsible use of those devices because they are very young and they can use it in not a properly way. But this is the cycle, the life cycle of the mobile phone. And what is the carbon footprint that produces the use of a mobile phone? It's a reflection about the footprint that produces a mobile phone. They use a device that we have in the lab, and I borrowed this device to the group that is doing the research of this part. It's a device that you can plug, and you can plug in this device another device, and you can know the power that needs, for example, a hair dryer or a charger of a smartphone, the power that needs this device to work or to fill its battery, for example. And if you know the number of hours that you can use the smartphone, or the number of times that you need to charge again the smartphone, you can calculate the amount of hour that you need. And you can know also the carbon footprint to produce that amount of power for your phone. So they can more or less know the footprint, the carbon footprint that produces the use of the mobile phones. Other question, when we don't want the device, what can we do with this kind of waste? Because it's a dangerous waste because of the batteries. You know that the batteries have heavy metals, and the heavy metals can pollute not only the soil but also the water. And it is very important to know how we can manage this kind of waste. So they have to search information about different types of waste and where can we discard each kind of waste. So there's an also. And it is very important to address finally the circular economy. Okay?
Can we reuse the discarded foams as a raw materials to prepare or manufacture another ones? So it's very important to address the circular economy. So with this map, you can imagine that the level of depth is quite interesting to address responsible consumption and also environmental education, both of them. So when they got all the information about each question that they have to address, they communicate their results to the rest of the classmates. They make very fancy presentations and they have time to communicate their results because all of them know things related to the cycle of mobile phones, but not in depth. But if they hear the information of the rest of the groups, they have a picture with many information about each issue that is addressed in the class. And this is time after that to proposals for action. Because after addressing all those issues, they need to do something to change things. So they decided, the question that we do is what we can do to raise awareness of the responsible consumption of phones and help the affected people by the co-construction. One student of mine in the year 2019 discovered, searching on the internet, that there is an NGO in the north of Spain that is called Alboan, that has a project that is called Tecnología Libre de Conflicto, Free Conflict Technology. And it is a very interesting project because they get old mobile phones and they sell those phones to an enterprise that reuse pieces of the phone that are useful to produce new ones or to replace in other ones. And the benefits of that selling, they use the benefits in the Congo communities that are affected by the destruction of coltan. So they found those that project very interesting to collaborate with. So we have an agreement with this NGO to collaborate with them, and they decided to build boxes to collect phones at the university, because they know that with the benefits of the phones, they can help people in Congo. For example, with 30 euros, they can, the NGO can feed and give them shelter of a family during a month in the east of Congo. With 60 euros, a woman that is a sexual victim can have medical assistance, not only medical but also psychological assistance. And with 600 euros, the school can work within a year in Congo. So because they are going to be future teachers, and most of them are women, they decided to collaborate with this NGO. So they built several boxes. This picture is where they are working, doing some videos to tell others that they are working in an important project to collaborate with Congo. And for example, the time when we were making boxes. And as I told you a few minutes ago, it is very important to tell others what I will do. So they decided to design several posters to collect mobile phones. Here there is some information to catch your attention, to do something. This is a poster of 2020. They built several boxes, very fancy boxes, because it looks like a mobile phone, a big one, and you can put your old mobile phone behind because there is a hole where you can put your mobile phone. They participate in the Women's Day, making several posters related with the violence that women suffer in the east of Congo. And they make several videos that they hang in the social networks to communicate others the project that they were carrying out.
I'm sorry, are you sharing this with us? Or
Sharing what?
Is it possible to have a copy of the slides?
Yes, yes, I can share those sites, but I don't know if they are still working because this year we changed the project. I will tell you at the end of because the project that we are addressing now is related to plastic PVC. Yes. Yes. Okay, sure. Those videos are in Spanish, of course. And we participate also in the International Museum Day at the Museum of the University of Alicante. And our students recreate there every step of the mobile phone cycle. And it's a very special day because citizens can participate in the activities that we have in the museum. So this is my son, my little, many years ago. Children can feel the difficult conditions to find content. They have to use their hands to find several rocks that are hidden in the boxes with soil. So we make also reflections and discussions with grown people related to the violence that there is in Congo and so on. It was fantastic. And we have collected more than 140 kilos of mobile phones from 2018 from now. And all those kilos of mobile phones, we send all the boxes to the NGO that is north of Spain, in the Basque Country. And we collaborate with the NGO Alboan and its project Tecnología Libre de Conflicto with the communities of Congo for 4 years. I think that this is time to make a recap of your answers. I'm going to share again your answers. So if you review again your answers, what do you think must be considered when you buy a new smartphone? Probably some of you changed some answers. Probably.
I think I would add more conditions. I wouldn't exactly change them, I would add more considerations.
Yes, and if you want to give advices to your friend, probably you will give him or her more information that you didn't know before this workshop. Okay?
And for sure,
They were very essence.
But it is very difficult to reflect on that if you don't address the problem with time. As I need to, I need time because to know things better, I need more time. But we have only this morning to address this, and this is an example of a methodology that we can use in our classes and connect the contents that we want to address to a project that has also a service, for example, to the communities. And you can extract the core idea of this methodology to apply to your classes with other contents. This is only an example. So for sure, you will add another kind of elements that are necessary to build smartphones. And
for sure,
you can name more problems that you know that are related to the content structure. Not only environmental problems, but also social problems. So now it's your time. It's your time for action because now you have information. So imagine that you have a friend that wants to buy a new smartphone and you have to make a product. Now I'm going to give you time, enough time to do it, and you can divide it in, because we are few people here, probably we can divide it into groups only of the people that we do, because it is very interesting to share all the information that you got here today, and you can choose the option that you prefer. You can record a video to give advices to your friend or anyone, or if you prefer not to use your own image, you can record an audio, a podcast or an audio. Or if you don't want to share your voice, you can write several advices that are very important to take into account before buying a smartphone. Okay. Thank you very much for your time and your ideas. And
can you read?
your progress to the rest, as my students do in my classes, please.
You guys were a lot more, sorry.
No, it's in the order, no, it's in order, or what? It's not in order.
The first
It doesn't bother you.
is my answer. The first. Yes, I can to. Yes. Oh. Actually, my two answers go in the same direction. The first in the two questions. I think there is a tendency to change mobile phones too quickly. Advertising makes people not think about the consequences of this constant change of mobile phone. I have had a mobile phone for 6 years, and I could have used it for many times, I think. Yes, it was still different from the others. Africa. I think that just like on cigarette packets, the consequence of abandoning one mobile and having another should be displayed somewhere.
Thank you, Roxana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is very interesting, the reflection of Rosanna, because she thought that if we have information, I don't smoke, but when in Spain, in the boxes of the cigarettes, you can read an advertisement about be careful because it is dangerous for your health. But we don't have any information about what has our mobile phone when we buy it. So it is very interesting your reflection about that. I'm not sure if the companies will agree with you because it is against their
No.
interest, but it is very, very interesting, your reflection. Thank you very much, President.
Don't buy me.
For
No.
each kilo of coltan died two
No,
people in their mind.
no, really, in the box, really is necessary to change? Is
They were, I don't know, this launch that you.
Why not?
Change dollar.
Yes, why not? Thank you. So, please, continue.
So the individual opinion, are you willing to buy a new or a second-hand phone? If you get something new, you should take a look into which companies are buying ethically sourced materials. Remember, I know a few companies, by example, though I don't really know any companies. I just put that in there as sort of like a thought. If we can start looking into which companies buy, we can, make recommendations better, at least from this perspective. And the second one is, in Poland, there's a big second-hand market for phones and stuff, and some of them are quite well done and they're refurbished. And so you might be able to buy something that was refurbished and you can use it, and you'll reduce your CO2. You won't increase your CO2 footprint as much. And in terms of things that may change our mind after this webinar or after this workshop, it's a lot to digest, even going from start to finish. So I understand the impact, but it's going to take me a while to figure out to really internalize it. Sometimes shocking things take a while to process, to go from that's interesting, oh, that's serious, aha, that's funny, no, it's not. So that's my sort of point from. So for me, taking something away from this, this workshop is a good way of saying, okay, we've learned a lot. Here's the process that we can use in our own classes, my classes. And I guess for me, when I teach my classes, I'm going to figure out how to connect these sort of harsh truths into the course. But I think that might be something I need to discuss with the departments in order to expand what else I do and what I teach.
Thank you very much. You say something related with the fair trade of some companies before buying a new mobile phone, but there is something important to know that some companies announce that the quota of the devices are coming from green mines, but it is impossible to know the trace of the coltan. It's impossible. So it is impossible to ensure that its coltan comes from good mines. So you have to know that. Okay.
Fair, but if there are companies in urban basically trying to pass, it's better that it's not.
Yes, that's the point. And there is a company, it's called Fairphone. I think that is, I don't know if it's from the Netherlands or something else. And they manufacture mobile phones that you can
replace the pieces by yourself. Yes, they say that the culture is free of conflict. I'm not sure about that, but they try to do it properly.
And similar to the US law. The civil price for US law.
But in US, there's not enough coltan. Because the 80% of coltan is in Congo. In Spain,
Then from US.
yeah, in Spain we have a mine of coltan in Galicia. And it's different because the workers of the mine, they have rights, because they are citizens. Yes, it's much more expensive than the Congolese coltan. Yes.
What about the
Were there any experiments to replace water with material?
Oh, no. Maybe an engineering can answer your question. I don't know, maybe can close the engineering.
Is it to
I don't know. This is a very good material because it has several properties that make it,
unique?
yes, unique. So at the moment, we don't have another material to replace gold. So it's called the black gold. Called black gold. Sorry?
not all of us are gold.
Oil, black gold, but also coltan. Coltan is the black gold. Yes. But now,
I didn't know about it.
we go to finish the.
So should I make the answer to both questions or just the response?
Yes. Okay.
So this is our time. So do you really need to, so what advice would you give to your friend? Do you really need to change it? What would you like to change your mobile? Did you know that if you prolong the life of your current device for 2 years, you will reduce 43% of the CO2 emissions and that 21 million tons of CO2 could be saved if we reuse all mobile phones that Europeans have unused at their homes? Are you also aware that there is a huge number of other environmental problems associated to the manufacturing of a mobile phone? Soil and water pollution derived from the mining of some of the key components, degradation of habitats, biodiversity loss, and the huge issue of managing the very toxic chemicals of the batteries, just to name a few. Moreover, there's a huge social impact in the local communities where the necessary materials are extracted, e.g. coltan. This is called a conflict mineral, which means that it comes from an area that it's like a war zone, mainly provoked by the coltan business, where the locals, including children and women, suffer dramatic consequences. So before you buy a new one, if it's not completely broken, please consider extending the lifetime of your mobile before buying a new one, or perhaps you can buy a second-hand phone instead of a new one. And if you're really replacing your phone, please make sure you take the old one to a place where they recycle or upcycle its components.
Very good.
Summary of the process.
Yes, we have another question.
Okay.
Go for the other question.
Yes.
So it's to things that change our minds after this webinar. So those were, it was basically because I think we both replied initially relating to the environmental impact. So basically it was the huge social impact. So seeing the tremendous impact that mobilized manufacturing has in the local communities and the fact that specialist drugs are that 2 people died for 1 kilo of coltan extracted, the use of children as tools of extraction and labor force, the use of sexual terrorism as a control weapon over the communities, and the fact that none of the huge benefits generated by the coltan business remain in the local communities. So coltan is sold at 200 times the price. So all of those things were.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm overwhelmed by your responses. Thank you very much. And this is not only a knowledge that you achieve today related to coltan. This is a way to teach. That's a way to teach. It's to touch your mind and yeah, it goes like a big pinch. Yes, because learning takes time. If you want to learn in depth, you need to give time to your students. So you can use this is an example, and you can choose if you want to follow with several contents. You can choose a project that in which can fit several concepts or contents that you want to address. And you can divide, split the project or to carry a new one with a bigger project. If you want, for example, this year I was speaking with them a few minutes ago about this year we changed the project because we wanted that this service arrive to our community. So we address the 3 blocks of the subject, not only the responsible consumption, but also the environmental education, but also the health education using the plastic in the sea, because plastic is related also with our habits of consumption, related with nutrition, and we can connect with the plastic, the 3 blocks of the subject. And the service is in our own community because Alicante is a city that is close to the sea. We have several beaches in our city. And we can see the problem of plastic in our environment. So it's a service, a close service to our environment, and it's working very, very well this year. We don't have results yet because we are making research also using this methodology. And the end of the course is going to be produced in a couple of weeks. So we will interview our students. We are going to make several questionnaires, and we are going to analyze attitudes, knowledge, and so on to test if the change of this project works or not. I think that it works very well, but you know, as a scientist, you need to have evidences of your project or of your research. So we need to give numbers to the audience to convince that the project works. So they are in that way, analyzing the questionnaires and so on to know, to have evidences. This is the end of the workshop, changing attitudes to promote the sustainable development goals. Those are the groups. This is me, and this is my colleague Isabel Luján, and with our students, and there is one more, is Rocío Diez, is another colleague that works in that way with us, and we are collaborating with all of these organizations, University of Alicante, and one with its project of Tecnología Libre de Conflicto, Servicio Jesuita de Refugiados, of refugees, and the Dr. Denis Mukwege Foundation. We are connected with and working with all those organizations. So we address the 17 sustainable development goals from the first to the number 17, and number 17 is very important because we need alliances to achieve the sustainable development goals. So alliances are here with our students, with our university community, and with all those organizations that we are working with. Thank you very much for your attention and for your incredible participation in this webinar and workshop. Thank you.
Thank you.